You may be wondering at this point if there are any privacy implications of what Microsoft's doing.
Thought never crossed my mind.
I think there are.
It clearly didn't cross the mind of Microsoft.
Smashing Security, Episode 374, Microsoft's Recall Controversy, and the North Korean Insider Threat, with Carole, Theriault and Graham Cluley.
Hello, and welcome to Smashing Security, Episode 374. My name's Graham Cluley.
And I'm Carole, Theriault.
And Carole, we're joined by a very special guest this week. It's author and journalist Geoff White. Hello, Geoff.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, Geoff, it's wonderful having you back. How long's it been? At least 6 months.
It's got to be, yes. Yeah. Maybe even a bit more.
And the exciting news is that you've got a new book about to come out. Because, of course, you wrote crime.com, you wrote The Lazarus Heist, and now this new one. What's that all about?
Exactly, yes. It's sort of going on from the Lazarus Heist. So as well, people might remember the Lazarus Heist, the podcast and the book, were about North Korea and its suspected hacks on financial institutions. And through that, I got interested in money laundering because actually...
Because the books did so well, you mean? Or because...
Yeah. The unsurprising answer to that is no. That is not why I got into money laundering. That's not why anybody gets into writing books. Because half the story of the Lazarus Heist wasn't actually about North Korea or hacking at all. It was about laundering money through casinos and stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. So the new book, Winced, is out in June 13th, and it's all about that topic, money laundering, and particularly how technology is changing the world of money laundering. It's rocket fueling, I think we describe it in the blurb, the industry of money laundering. So that's what that's all about.
Brilliant.
It's interesting side of the discussion, isn't it? It's the other side of the equation. You've got the money, now what on earth are you going to do with it?
Yeah. And this is the mad thing. I go to these financial crime conferences, and look, obviously cybersecurity conferences, I know lots of the companies, I obviously know lots of the speakers a lot of the time, you know, folks like yourselves. Financial crime conferences, I go along, I don't know any of the companies, I don't know any of the speakers, but then they start talking, and it's suddenly like, oh, you're just at the other end of the pipe. Yeah, okay, you're just the other side of the equation here. So I really think there needs to be hopefully more collaboration, cooperation between cybercrime and financial crime. I think that would be a healthy thing to do, is my conclusion from this work that I've done.
Fantastic. I look forward to reading the book.
Yes.
Just before we get started, there is something that's been bugging me a bit about your podcast.
Hello.
Oh.
Watch out.
Which is this, as Cole's pointed out, I've been on before a few times. It's been great. And, you know, I was looking forward, obviously, to meeting you guys in real life, IRL, as the youth say.
I know what this is going to be about.
Well, yeah, so Graham, I have bumped into at a fair few conferences and, you know, it's Carole, Carole's busy and stuff. And I've invited you along to a couple of events and you're like, oh, I'm busy. And Carole's like, I can't really come and stuff. And I go, you know, fine, Carole is busy, but it's happened a few too many times. And so here's my hunch. My investigative journalist spidey senses have been tingling, right? Rewind a few years and multiple podcast awards, right? Graham Cluley thinks I want a hit podcast, but Graham is, you know, male and British and middle-aged and by his own admission curmudgeonly, I think is the correct word.
Yes, that sounds fair. Yeah.
I need a co-host who is, you know, at the opposite end of the curmudgeonly spectrum. Ideally somebody female, maybe somebody from another country, different accents. And this is mulling around in Graham's head. And then he's flicking through the TV stations late at night and he comes across the classic 80s sci-fi romp Weird Science and realizes that he can create I put it to you, Carole Theriault, you are an AI chatbot created by Graham.
Fuck off.
Even now, am I seeing a picture of Carole? No, I'm seeing a picture of Graham. I'm not seeing a picture of Carole. And if I was, I would be counting the fingers, ladies and gentlemen. I put it to you. Nonsense.
Okay, so I'm going to say I'm not at all insulted that you think I'm a figment of Graham's imagination at all. That doesn't bug me at all.
You've got a very well programmed, Graham. Did you rehearse that answer there? Or
she's so much more obedient than the real one, you know.
I'm going to kick this show off. But first, let's thank this week's wonderful sponsors, Collide, Kiteworks, and Vanta. It's their support that help us give you this show for free. Now, coming up on today's show, Graham, what do you got?
I'm going to be talking about a privacy nightmare, which might be coming to a PC near you soon.
Okay. And what about you, Geoff?
I'll be talking about the ultimate insider threat, North Korea.
Ooh, and I'm talking about top impersonated companies out there when it comes to scams. All this and much more coming up on this episode of Smashing Security.
Now, chums, how good is your memory? What do you say?
Not good. Not
Terrible.
good at all.
I can't remember yesterday.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? As we get older, our memory, well, my memory seems to deteriorate. Apparently, it's something called the hippocampus, the area of your brain governing memory. It can shrink slightly, and maybe that makes you more forgetful of age. It's not just age, though. All of us, I think, we naturally prioritize what we need to remember, right? So I need to remember where I live so that if I get off the bus, I know whether to turn left or right. That's kind of important.
Yeah, top headlines of the Daily Mail. Yeah.
I need to remember events like who my partner is, so I don't, end up in the bedroom with the wrong person. That sort of thing is important. But the humdrum day-to-day stuff, like what I ate for lunch last Friday, no chance at all. And I've had my memory tested from time to time. Years ago, over 30 years ago, in fact, I was interviewed by police about a murder.
Whoa.
They turned up on my
Really?
door. It was. Let me stress, I didn't commit the murder, at least not as far as I remember. But these police turned up on my door one night, unexpectedly knocked.
It's not a brilliant answer, is it? So far as I can remember. Kind of thing that would stand out in your mind, taking another person's life.
Was this like 2 a.m.?
It was about 9 o'clock at night on a dark,
dear.
scary night. Yes,
That would not be good for me.
and they knocked on my door, and the house was a bit of a mess. To be honest, I from the initial impressions, I might have come across as a bit of a serial killer because it was sort of it was untidy. And I said to them, "Look, I'd have tidied up if I knew you were coming." And they said, "We don't tend to pre-announce our visits." But they wanted to know where I'd been on a particular night the previous year.
Oh, that's my nightmare.
Oh,
Previous year?
Oh,
yes.
God.
So I said, I've got no idea. And they said, well, it was the night of this big football match. They said, and they named this couple of teams. And I said, I cannot stand football, I explained. And they went into the room where I had my computer. And you remember how you used to get those cover discs on the front of magazines with free games and things?
Mm.
And I'd got this computer magazine, and there on the cover disc was this football simulation game. And they picked it up, kind of went, uh-huh.
What?
And I just thought, and I was feeling so guilty. I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be a miscarriage of justice. I was just picturing myself in my typical operatic, dramatic style, imagining this was the end of Cluley as we knew it. Because I would have found it really hard to put together an alibi, because who knows what I was up to or what I did. I definitely didn't do it as far as I remember. Now,
again, with the as far as I remember thing, even now, Graham.
I know. I don't know why he's doing that. Surely he does know whether he's done it. Allegedly, reportedly, I didn't do it.
That's what people will say at the government inquiries, don't they? Or, if you're a president, if you took the witness stand.
If you're guilty.
Yes.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay.
So I now try to make a note of anything that I should remember. I keep my passwords in a password manager securely locked away. I bookmark my favorite websites so I can remember what websites I like to go to. I use a calendar to record where I'm supposed to be and when, and family birthdays.
Every time you murder someone, you make a quick note,
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Did a murder today, rough time, that kind of thing. Yeah, I get you.
So put a notch on the bedpost or something like that.
God.
I've got a tag around my neck saying, please look after this bear, thank you, in case I get lost. All those sort of things, the essential things to look after myself. And of course, on my computer, I've archived thousands of files and emails and photographs containing information. And this, it feels to me, is one of the biggest problems with computing today. Is that one of the things that we think has been solved hasn't really been solved that well. I mean, we have search engines which, to a better or worse extent, help us find stuff on the internet. I'd say in some ways they may have reached their zenith and have fallen a little bit because there's so much junk and SEO poisoning and garbage sites now in search engines. But it's a fairly easy way to find information is through a search engine, at least until they plug artificial intelligence in. But that doesn't help me find information on my computer. Anyway, there is now a new startup company called Microsoft, right? Little known company. They lost the browser war, and like everyone else so far, they failed to make much of a dent into Google in the search engine war. But this month, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, he announced a new feature being built into their new AI-augmented CoPilot Plus PCs, a feature called Recall. Have you heard about Recall?
I have, and yes, I know where you're going, but this is controversial.
Right.
But
it is rather controversial.
Okay, tell me.
Well, at its most basic role, what Recall does is not that revolutionary. What it does is it records everything you do on your computer, taking screenshots constantly.
Okay, great. Volunteer bossware. Fantastic.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, good.
Everything you type, everything you look at, every web page you visit, every app that you open, every photo that you edit, Microsoft's Recall feature built into these new PCs, it sees and records it. Like I said, not that revolutionary, and like you said as well, because bossware, malicious spyware has been doing this on your PC for years and years.
Yeah, that Microsoft has access to, presumably.
Well, this is what we're going to come to.
Okay, tell me.
There's some controversy about this. So right now, if you know where to look on the web, it doesn't even have to be on the dark web. These things are being openly advertised. There's plenty of software you can grab and install and plant on your partner's PC to do just this, to surreptitiously watch everything that they're doing, who they're talking to, what they're looking at. It's a kind of spyware. It's loved by stalkers and abusive partners. But of course, they have to go onto your PC and install it in order to spy on the person of interest, right?
Right.
But what Microsoft is planning to do is to build this into their PCs, which you can pre-order right now. So this feature will be there, and it's just a question of turning it on. So your jealous partner won't have to go and grab the software and install it. They've just got to grab your computer for 3 seconds and turn on this feature.
Can it be password enabled or?
Probably.
So you're kind of saying they could turn it on without you knowing. And I'm just wondering if they could demand an admin password, but actually a partner often knows that anyway.
Often they know it, or if they're an abusive partner, they may have insisted that you hand over your password to your computer anyway to look up what you're doing and occasionally check your messages or whatever. You can imagine those kind of scenarios. And with this recall feature enabled, at a click of a button, you will be able to rewind a PC back in time. You could go back to, say, last November 23rd at 5:15 p.m. and find out what happened then.
Oh, God, I did kill that guy. I forgot totally.
Got a screen grab of me killing him. Oh, that settles it then.
It's a fair cop. And what's more, it classifies everything that you see, making it instantly searchable. So if you happened to go to a web page which contained a photograph of a leather bag, even if it doesn't have the words leather bag on it, you would be able to search for leather bag. I was still thinking about a leather bag. It would find that web page.
This is my nightmare because I've basically been playing the game for the last 15 years of computing of, well, hey, if I can't find it, no one else can. So wherever. It's somewhere. It's on there somewhere. If I really have to find it, I'll spend 24 hours and find it. It's like needle in the haystack work. But it just classifies stuff based on file size, type, kind, everything.
Yeah, and what it's seeing.
Yeah.
And what's more, it's not going to hide information such as your passwords.
What?
I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, passwords.
What? So I type in my...
Fair game. They're going to grab that.
I presume if the website has one of those things where it blanks your password out as you type it in, that wouldn't show up because it's screen grabs. But if there's lots of websites where you can either choose to reveal it, show your password in plain text, or it just, when you type it in, it appears in plain text.
Or you open your password manager on the screen and the screen is recorded. There are login forms where you have to manually type it in rather than paste it in. And so you put it up in one window and then may transfer it by hand because those irritating sites which don't allow you to do it. So you may be wondering at this point if there are any privacy implications of what Microsoft's do.
Thought never crossed my mind.
I think there are.
It clearly didn't cross the mind of Microsoft because there's been a little bit of a fallout over this. Some people have gone, excuse me, this doesn't sound entirely brilliant, as you seem to think it is. Yes, you've fixed the whole searching problem of finding information on your computer. But now, if people log into their online bank, this feature is going to record their account numbers, their bank balances, their purchases. It's all going to be available for anyone who has access to that computer to look up.
You see, this bothers me a bit because I can't believe that someone didn't bring this up in the beta phase. Like, I can't imagine someone in one of the meetings didn't bring this up, but I have a feeling that this, let's go AI, let's go. We don't want to be late. Let's go. Quick, quick, quick kind of mentality means we're skipping serious things. If Microsoft does this on a security front, it's pretty serious.
But this is what happens inside companies all the time, isn't it? Someone comes up with a harebrained idea and everyone's too scared to say, you're not wearing any clothes, mate.
I just think technology companies have this idea that everything they do is brilliant and fantastic and positive.
Yeah.
Nobody will misuse it. It can't be misused. Nothing can be bad. And I think if you are a person in a technology company who has that view, you probably don't last very long because you're just seen as a bit of an obstacle and a bit of a, Eeyore character. So that's how they come out with this nonsense, because nobody goes, hang on a second, and that the person who does that gets the sack.
Well, in my experience, people do say it, but they just go, shut up, George. You know?
It's always George, isn't it? Damn him. Is all of this data held and only accessible locally, i.e. on that piece of tin? Because there would be some way to get at it, presumably remotely. And as soon as that happens, then the privacy nightmare kicks in for me, the problems.
So I think many people instantly thought, oh my flipping gourd, you've got to be kidding about this, because if you're uploading all this information to the cloud, even if Microsoft's protecting it, then that's a problem. So Microsoft says, well, you don't have to worry because it's all being stored safely, they say, and securely on the local computer. It's not using the cloud in any way, at least at the moment it isn't, right? Who knows what feature they might roll out in the future, which is, now we've given you this cloud option too.
Yes.
But
now it's all cloud, yeah.
But as Eva Galperin, who's Director of Cybersecurity at the EFF, says, there's a big difference between creating a situation where someone has to go find a remote access tool and install it, or buy a keylogger and install it, and simply logging into someone's computer and turning on an option. So they're not storing it in the cloud, but of course, a hacker could remotely infect your computer with malware, and just like they can steal other information from your computer, like the passwords from your browser or databases, they could just as easily steal or access this database, which, recall, has very helpfully been collecting for months and months and months about everything you did on your computer.
What are Microsoft saying to all these people kind of pointing these non-trivial problems out?
Issues, yeah.
I think they're still trying to work out what they should really be doing about this, because it seems that everyone's kind of got a point. They're trying to argue, but that's just an edge case. But I don't think it is an edge case, because there are, of course, countries in the world which don't have the sort of glorious, beautiful sunlit uplands that the United Kingdom has, and may have totalitarian governments. They may have overreaching intelligence agencies, may have law enforcement, who, once they've got access to a computer which has this turned on, will be able to delve through it, or indeed remotely hack something and turn on these kind of features. So I think it is a privacy and security nightmare, and it's really going to bite people in the bottom.
It's funny you should mention countries overseas, because Microsoft has in this regard been comprehensively scooped on this particular innovation by no less than North Korea.
Right.
Which at one stage was revealed to have installed spyware on, I think it was phones and tablets being shipped into the country that did exactly this, stored screenshots. The thing that bit North Korea on the bum about it was that the phones was constantly storing these screenshots and the memory filled up. So the phone stopped working.
Yes.
People took them to the shop and the shop said, oh, the memory's full. Oh, it's full of everything that you've ever done. And so they got found out. So Microsoft, following in the footsteps, no less, of Kim Jong-un, is not exactly a brilliant model, I'd suggest.
And this may end up being an argument as to why people actually want to store this information in the cloud, which would be less secure. So Microsoft reckon that by default, they're going to store around about 3 months' history of what's been happening on your PC. They reckon they're going to take up 25 gigabytes of space on a device.
Who's asking for this other than you, the potential murderer?
If you have a 256 gigabyte drive, they reckon they're going to take about 10% of it to store this information. Are they in cahoots with the hard drive manufacturers? I don't know. Are we all going to need even more space?
That is just, I run light. I try to have bugger all on my computer. It makes it run fast and light. I don't have to worry about things. Yeah. Can you switch it off? That's the key thing. It's switched off by default when it's arrives, right?
That I'm not sure about. Some people have suggested maybe it is on by default. But regardless, someone else could turn it on, or you may not realize the implications, or you may think, oh, this is so cute, I'll keep this going, because it was helpful that 1 in a million times when you can't find the file any other way.
Like when I updated my operating system, the Windows operating system, and Microsoft Edge appeared on my toolbar at the bottom again and again and again. So that's not.
It's like the U2 album appearing on iPhones. So get rid of the bloody thing. Anyway, the ICO says that it's investigating, and I imagine others will be investigating around the world, either to try and put a stop to it, or maybe positively encouraging Microsoft, because it will help their investigations into people who are of interest to them.
Mm-hmm. Terrifying. Yes, I'm not a fan. Get to know from Geoff for that one, I'd say. Not just because my murder slate is clean, Graham, I'm not yours. At least as far as I can remember.
Geoff, what have you got for us this week?
Well, I've already mentioned North Korea once in this podcast, as I am contractually obliged to do. But so this was an astonishing story, which I've been told about by a security researcher who's been looking a lot into this, a guy called Michael Barnhart at Mandiant, which is part of Google now, big security bit of Google. And he's been talking about this for a while, and suddenly we get this US Department of Justice indictment, a criminal complaint, which maps out what he's been talking to me about. And it's this. It's effectively infiltration of big US companies by North Korean spies, effectively, computer hacker spies. But I'm going to try and tell the story in the sort of Graham Cluley style. So I'm going to say...
We already have one of them.
Imagine you're on LinkedIn and you get an offer of some work. Somebody approaches you and says, hey, can you help me? Now, on LinkedIn, you are a web developer, and so you've got IT experience. And the person who approaches you says, hey, I really need your help. I want to get a job at a big US company, but I'm not in the US, and I don't think I can really manage to get the job myself. Can you help me get the job? And when I get it, I will split my salary with you. Yeah?
Oh.
So you think, okay, I'll help this person get a job. They're overseas somewhere. Get them.
Do they want to use your name, your identity, or no?
Well, no. Then they come out with the next bit of the plan, which is they want you to help them procure people's identities. These are real people living in the US, steal their identities and use their identities to apply for the job. Still keen to take part?
I'm a little bit more hesitant now, to be honest.
Graham, free money. Yeah. Come on. You'll be like, yeah. I didn't kill anyone, promise.
Let's imagine you followed it thus far. The next stage is you actually are successful. The scheme is successful, and you manage, through working with this person overseas, to get them the job at this US company. The US company, because remote working is a thing, sends out a laptop that they want this new employee to use. But of course, the new employee is overseas, so they can't send a laptop. So they send the laptop to your house. And then the person overseas says, oh, right, could you plug that in, keep it connected to the internet, install remote access software on it, and just allow me to remote into that laptop in your house so I can then work for that American company.
It's like the red lights are flashing.
Yeah, I would have dropped out at various
But all
stages.
you're doing is plugging a laptop in. You're getting paid for, it just sit in the corner of the room. It's paying for the electricity, isn't it?
Okay, all right. Final one then for you, Graham. It turns out that the people abroad are actually in North Korea. Still keen?
Oh, don't be racist. I mean, a lot of people in North Korea are hard up for a bit of cash. They can't necessarily afford to eat well. I mean, it's not their fault, is it, that they're in North Korea and just looking for a harmless job? Are they really doing any harm?
You raise a good point, Graham, and there are people in North Korea who are starving and the government forces them to do these things, but you have at this point breached international financial sanctions.
I was going to say, there's a little pickle, a little sticky pickle of international law.
You might. Well done, Carole, crowbarring in the name of the podcast there. So this is allegedly what happened. A woman called Christina Chapman in the US. And we should say this is an accusation by the Department of Justice. She has not been tried. I haven't heard her side of the story. But what they say is she was approached on LinkedIn by these people who turned out to be North Koreans. Now, what's amazing about this is dozens of US citizens' identities were harvested to apply for the jobs. We're talking dozens of companies who were infiltrated by these new job applicants. They send out laptops to Christina Chapman's house, is the accusation. She sets them up. These hackers from North Korea were remote accessing into the laptops and using the VPN to get into the company. Now, not only did they make money out of this, about $6 million of money they made out of these various companies they were working for, of which the accusation is Ms. Chapman got a cut. That money goes back to North Korea. Now, again, to your point, Graham, sending money back to North Korea might be helpful for people there, but it is also breaching international sanctions.
Okay.
Really worrying. I mean, first it's murder, Graham, then it's sanctions busting. This podcast
he's
is
outrageous.
not. Guys, just. But so the other thing that happened, and this is the really terrifying bit, is that not only were they working for these companies and getting money in breach of sanctions, they were also apparently stealing data from inside these companies. So effectively, you've got the ultimate insider threat, somebody you've given a job and a laptop and remote access to. And so, I mean, these are Fortune 500 companies. I do not have the names of the companies, much as I'm trying, but one of them is a big automotive manufacturer in Detroit. Another is a big clothing company based in California. So you start to put two and two together. These are big companies, and they got infiltrated by, apparently, North Korean hackers. It's an astonishing campaign, this one. It really is. And just to bring this to a close as well, what I've been told is that this is just one case of one person in the US. There are multiple cases of people around the world, including, I've been told, the UK, where there are similar operations being run. And that would involve probably infiltrating UK companies. So this is just the opening salvo in what might be a slew of court cases trying to bring these things to justice.
So this could be a way not only to make money through the salaries, but you're also potentially stealing data. You could also be taking intellectual property. You could be installing ransomware, all kinds of nastiness.
Exactly. And I think the really big thing, and we came across this when we did the book and the podcast about this sort of infiltration type stuff, because crypto companies were being subject to this, North Korean hackers accused of getting jobs at crypto companies, all of those attendant risks of data theft and stealing money. The thing that really kept people awake at night was, what if this person who I've hired to do computer coding for my company has introduced some kind of logic bomb or vulnerability that they haven't told me about, obviously, and then years from now, it could even be years from now, they trigger it and drain my bank accounts or break in all over again if they left back doors all over the place. So that's the really big worry. But it's an astonishing campaign. There is a Department of Justice indictment against Christina Chapman. I just have a read through it. It's absolutely remarkable, the accusations they've made.
Because they say she had an actual laptop farm.
Yes.
It's not like a couple of PCs.
No.
It's alleged that there were scores and scores of them.
Yes.
A bit like a server farm mining cryptocurrency, but they were all being used by people over in North Korea.
Because I'm kind of thinking she's like probably small fish compared to the honchos who are kind of running this whole scheme. But
probably so. I mean, it was told to me they've recruited multiple people around the world. Now, you say small fry, yes, she's sort of a small cog, but a small cog, servicing multiple dozens of people. So a small but vital cog at the center of this is the accusation. Again, we wait to hear her argument on this and stuff. So, but just astonishing case.
Yeah.
So I've seen that the FBI, they're now warning firms and recruitment agencies to be on the lookout for North Korean IT workers, and freelancers who they may obviously not realize that they're based in North Korea. They're telling them to look out for things like if someone's working odd hours.
Yes.
If you're obviously if you're working into the North Korean time zone. But then, of course, programmers, they do work odd hours anyway, don't they?
Exactly. But what's interesting is the crypto company infiltration stuff was interesting because they pay their employees in crypto. So for a crypto company, you've got almost no way of verifying this employee. But these are standard non-crypto companies that pay into bank accounts. So part of this, again, was setting up the fake ID to get the job, because the company would say, well, great, you're hired. Where do we pay you? What's your bank account details? Well, then you've got to give bank account details that ideally match up with the person who's just got the job. Or maybe you set up a company and you set up a bank account as a company. But there's a whole financial crime aspect to this of sort of laundering the money back. And so one of the parties that's prosecuting this woman is the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service of the US, because, of course, tax has been paid and tax has been dodged on these things. So there's a whole sort of network of financial charges and wrongdoing attached to all of this. It's all spiraling other part of the case. Really, really interesting.
I'm so going to read this. Make sure we put them in the show notes, the accusation.
Well worth having a read through.
Carole, what's your story for us this week?
So we're looking at a report issued by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. This is the U.S. federal agency that enforces, civil antitrust laws, promotes consumer protection, that sort of stuff. Now, they put out some research and analysis on scam reports that it received during 2023. And there are two things I thought we could gas about with respect to impersonation scams. So what's changed, if anything, since 2020? And what companies are impersonated the most in the US? So which are the ones that are kind of being flagged the most, looking at all the reports that came into the FTC last year?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So impersonation scams. This is where scammers pretend to represent a well-known or trusted business or a government agency. Apparently, there were 500,000 reports of impersonation scams, like 2/3 business impersonation and 1/3 government impersonation. It's a hard word to say.
Wow.
Impersonation. Combined, losses of these scams topped a whopping 1.1 billion in 2023. Okay, and that's 3 times more than what it was in 2020. So either impersonation scams are a big growing business, or people are reporting the scams to the FTC and reporting their losses more often, or a combination of the two, right? Could be either.
What sort of scams? So is it companies being impersonated to con people out of money? Is that the idea?
Okay, there's 5 types of impersonation scams. So like one of them would be like copycat account security alerts. So messages about exposed activity, like suspicious activity or unauthorized charges.
Right.
So, you're already alert that these things can go wrong. You get a message saying, oh, yeah, you have been scammed.
Yeah.
Or it's a bank and there's a phone number and they ask you to text back yes or no. And these, basically they're scammers that try to fix a problem that doesn't exist, to fix a fake problem. There's phony subscription renewals. So this looks like routine email notices claiming to refer to an account you never opened, but is about to auto-renew, like maybe a gym membership or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So we're about to charge your credit card this amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it might be to the tunes of hundreds of dollars. So you call to sort it out.
Yeah.
And they say to you, well, we need to connect to your computer in order to process the refund. Once in, they make it look like too much money was refunded and demand a return, often by buying gift cards, da-da-da-da-da.
It's a fairly elementary scam, but it can afford to be elementary because it works. It's so successful. It's something which humans respond to, isn't it? It's like, oh, you're going to charge me, therefore I have to deal with that right now. And so you've sort of cut off your regular common sense at that point.
Plus, you're grateful, right?
Yes.
Because they've alerted you to something going wrong. So you're like, thank you very much. Another category is fake giveaways, discounts, or money to claim. So discounts from your internet provider or giveaway from a big retailer or sweepstake winnings, that sort of thing. Number 4 is bogus problems with the law. So pretending to be government agents saying that your identity has been stolen or been used to commit a serious crime.
That's why they knocked on my door and accused me. It's 30 years and I've only just twigged it was a scam.
It was all a scam.
They don't normally claim murder. They normally claim money laundering or drug smuggling. But hey, maybe you were like the outlier. Did they try to help you fix the problem? Did they say, we'll help you clean up the murder? Did they say that? Because that's apparently what they do. They offer you help to fix the problem, which always involves them telling you to move money, right?
Did they have, Graham, just one quick question on those police officers. Did they have Velcro trousers? Because they could have been strippers. Just raising that as a possibility. Sounds like the world's worst strippers. I don't think you should tip them. But cops or strippers, that's always, yeah.
Oh, dear.
And then, of course, there's messages like package delivery problems. We all heard of those. U.S. Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, problem with the delivery, includes a link, but it doesn't go to the real website. So all these we kind of know, but they do say there's some differences. There's some changes in what's going on. So way back in 2020, phone calls were big business, right? Scams would start with a phone call. But this type of scam has plummeted in the last 3-4 years. Yet, we're seeing an increase in text or email scams.
Is the problem that no one actually answers the phone any longer?
Yeah.
Because if I don't recognize the number, I will not answer it.
Yeah, that's what I do too. So yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And if someone fails to leave a message, there's no way I'm calling them back
No, exactly.
either.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah.
Okay, so bank transfers and cryptocurrency outrank every other payment method. That's not a surprise to me. This is how they want their moolah, the scammers.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I've got a list of the top 10 companies in the U.S. that are used or impersonated. This is from the FTC. And they issued it just last week. So I want to see how many you guys can get.
Okay, so we'll just shout out some names, shall we?
They've got to be companies that target people who might fall for a scam.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Mensa or The Economist are unlikely to be in there, are they? I'm making value judgments there. Actually.
I'm glad I'm a subscriber of one of those.
I don't know. Well, yeah, it's going to be somewhere big and somewhere people put money through.
Going to be number of reports that they get.
Google.
Yes, that's good thought.
Google is not on the list, interestingly.
Oh.
Amazon would be my key one.
Amazon.
Yes, Amazon is number 2.
This is like Family Fortunes, isn't it?
I know. You're welcome.
PayPal.
PayPal number 3. Are you cheating, Graham?
No, I'm not.
Okay, good.
What about Target?
No.
Oh, I thought it'd be number 1. Okay.
Pornhub.
No.
Okay.
What about banks, financial institutions?
Bank of America?
Yes, Bank of America is number 9.
Number 9. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
UPS. What about UPS? That is the postal people.
Yes, and FedEx and
Yes.
No, they are not there.
government organisations like the IRS.
No. Do you want me to read you the list?
Yeah, come on, we're not doing very well.
No, you're doing quite well. Yeah, I think you're doing quite well. So Best Buy and Geek Squad are the top one.
Oh, yes, you see.
Best Buy and
Geek Squad. They're the people who fix your computer when it hasn't got a virus on it. Is that right?
Well, they are often impersonated.
Okay.
Amazon is second. Third is PayPal. Fourth, Microsoft. 5, Publishers Clearinghouse. Do you know what this is?
Oh, I don't know. What's that?
Sounds like I should do as an author. What's this where I get money?
Yes.
Is it book laundering? Is that what they do?
According to Wikipedia, it's an American company founded in the 50s as an alternative to door-to-door magazine subscription sales. It offers bulk mail direct marketing of merchandise and periodicals. And get this, it's most widely known for its sweepstakes and prize-based games, which were introduced. But they were subject of legal actions regarding whether consumers were misled about the odds of winning. So by 2010, the company had reached settlements with all 50 states. And in 2023, the FTC ordered this house to overhaul its sweepstakes process. So
it sounds like there might be a lot of vulnerable people who might fall for an email or text from them.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it sounds like you've won a sweepstake, you've won the lottery kind of things. That's a classic coming from them, yes, or coming from someone impersonating them.
Yeah, so the top 3 are Best Buy, Geek Squad, Amazon, and PayPal. But the ones... Verizon's not there. You got Wells Fargo, you got Apple, you got Comcast,
Yes, that's one.
Norton, and LifeLock. But interestingly, it's Microsoft and the Publishers Clearinghouse that have the best ROI, which means they have capped the biggest amount of money per transaction. They account for 110 million combined in 2023. So I guess at the end of this, it's like, what advice do we have for people? So you have people basically taking advantage of people like us that say, hey, beware out there. A lot of these scams are telling them, hey, something's gone wrong and we're here to help. Is our advice no one helps you? You're screwed?
My advice to people always is if you get something that appears to come from a company, rather than replying to that text message or that email, go to the company's own website or its own phone number. Don't go through the channel through which you've been approached.
Yeah.
Go independently to the company direct. That's always been my approach.
Yeah. It's as easy as that, guys. Do you know what everyone's freaking out about?
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
When it comes to ensuring your company has top-notch security practices, things can get complicated fast. Vanta automates compliance for ISO 27001, SOC 2, GDPR, and more, saving you time and money. With Vanta, you can unify your security program management with a built-in risk register and reporting, and proactively manage security reviews with AI-powered security questionnaires. Over 7,000 global companies like Alsatian, Flow Health, and Quora use Vanta to build trust and prove security in real time. Smashing Security listeners get 10% off Vanta at vanta.com/smashing. That's VANTA.com/smashing. clyde.com/smashing for 10% off Vanta.
Long-term sponsors Collide were acquired by 1Password earlier this year, and both companies are leading the industry in creating security solutions that put users first. Collide Device Trust helps companies with Okta ensure that only known and secure devices can access their data. And that's what they're still doing, but now as part of 1Password. So, if you've got Okta and you've been meaning to check out Collide, now's a great time. Collide comes with a library of pre-built device posture checks, and you can write your own custom checks for just about anything you can think of. Plus, you can use Collide on devices without MDM, like your Linux fleet, contractor devices, and every BYOD phone and laptop in your company. Now that Collide is part of 1Password, it's only going to get better. Check it out at collide.com/smashing to learn more and watch the demo today. That's KOLIDE.com/smashing. And thanks to Collide for supporting the show. Legacy managed file transfer tools are dated. They lack the security that today's remote workforce demands. Companies that continue relying on outdated technology put their sensitive data at risk. Well, this podcast is sponsored by Kiteworks, who enable organizations to effectively manage risk in every send, share, receive, and save of sensitive content. To do that, they've created a platform that delivers content governance, compliance, and protection to customers, tracking, controlling, and securing sensitive content as it moves within, into, and out of organizations, all while ensuring regulatory compliance on all sensitive content communications. Kiteworks provides the industry's first private content network for protecting risky third-party communications with secure email, secure file sharing, secure mobile, secure web forms, managed file transfer, and governed SFTP servers. Visit kiteworks.com to get started today. That's kiteworks.com, and thanks to them for supporting the show. And welcome back. And you join us at our favourite part of the show, the part of the show that we like to call Pick of the Week.
Pick of the week.
Pick of the week.
Pick of the Week is the part of the show where everyone chooses something like. It could be a funny story, a book that they've read, a TV show, a movie, a record, a podcast, a website, or an app. Whatever they wish. It doesn't have to be security related necessarily.
Better not be.
Well, my Pick of the Week this week is not security related. I have been playing around with AI music, which you may think is a diabolical invention.
I remember you trying to play the piano. Have you given up?
If you're referring to my How to Play the Piano in 5 Weeks book, which I got about 5 years ago, I'm still working my way through it.
Okay.
But
Got all those people to murder. Got no time.
God.
All those sanctions to breach. He's a busy man.
So obviously the whole idea of AI music is completely terrible. It's as terrible as having an AI written book or something like that. But it is quite remarkable what you can do. I've been using a service called, I don't know how to say it. Is it Udio or Udio? It's UDIO is the name of this particular service. And all you have to do is give it a little bit of text and say, can you write a song? And it goes away. And 30 seconds later, it comes back with a music and all the words. It's been trained on a vast collection of diverse musical styles.
I bet John Lennon's rolling in his grave.
Well, what you're not allowed to do, and it stops you from doing, is saying, can you do music in the style of this artist?
Oh,
I imagine
okay.
they've already predicted the lawsuits which are going to happen. But what you can do is you can say, can you do this in the style of like a jazz pianist or some electro punk or something like that? And it's quite remarkable. And of course, as this is an audio podcast, there's only one real way to demonstrate how remarkable this is. Just before we recorded this podcast, I went up to Udio and I said, can you write me a song about our guest this week, Geoff White? And his new book about money laundering.
Oh, good. Okay. About the
So
book,
here
right, fine.
is, yep. So here is Rinsed, the song.
I've got secrets I must hide. All this cash, let's take a ride through the maze of hidden threads. Geoff White's words fill up our heads. Take the bills, make them clean, rinse, said Geoff. It's pristine. Take, spin the wheel, which it turned the game of green. So much to learn. Geoff White's tales, they guide our hands. Rinse, he says in foreign lands. Rinse.
Whoa!
That's actually quite astonishing, isn't it?
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's better than anything you could write, really.
Through the tales.
Now you can go in and edit the lyrics, and they will sing different lyrics.
Absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, you can say, "Oh, I don't like that outro," or "Can you create another verse?" or "Can you put in a longer instrumental at the beginning?" You can do all things like that, and it does it, and all kinds of different styles as well. I chose like a sort of swingy, jazzy kind of upbeat style, but it could just as easily have sounded a bit like Leonard Cohen or some sort of...
You can't say that, though, right? You'd have to describe his music very, very well. You'd probably have to go to,
a moody Canadian style, I could say, something like that.
That could be my style.
But it's really fun.
It's funny you say that because one of the conferences I'm speaking at, Money 2020, which is in Amsterdam later in June, sent me a sort of gift. And I was like, "Oh, it's usually chocolate or biscuits, which is great. It's a great amount." This isn't. This was a poem generated about me and my talk by Woodsy and YA, two award-winning poets who use AI to write the second half of the poem. So it's interesting that I'm getting this from all angles of people throwing content at me. Amazing! I thought it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Use it as you wish, Geoff. If it helps promote your book.
Yes. I really appreciate it. Thank you. It's very touching, Graham. I really appreciate it.
Geoff, what is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week slightly less cheery, but it is important, and I really, really, really want to flag this book up. It is a book, not mine, it's by a woman called Annie Jacobson, and it is simply called, and this will give you a clue as to what's in it, Nuclear War.
Whoa.
This book is astonishing. It is a hypothetical, minute-by-minute play of what happens if North Korea launches a nuclear weapon.
What?
The research in it is amazing. It's meticulously researched because there are all these hidden arcane systems that kick in all around the world within seconds of anything. They've got radars trained, satellites trained on everything. And as soon as this happens, there's a whole chain goes into effect. What's amazing about the book is, on the one hand, it's extremely detailed is actually what it is in terms of who decides what and so on. But because it's a hypothetical scenario, the author, Annie Jacobson, occasionally throws in a curveball. An event happens that takes things off in a new direction, a new slightly terrifying direction. I know there's this cliche of, I was so engrossed in it, I missed my tube stop or train stop, whatever. I did. I actually missed the stop and got off the wrong side because I couldn't take my nose out of this book. It is, I know it's a really serious subject, and it is particularly in our current world. I'm sure not one that people want to dwell on too much, but this book, honestly, it's just amazing. And you come out of it with a new appreciation of the weapon that we have built and how incredibly stupid it was for us to do it and how dangerous it's created the world for us all to be. It's called Nuclear War, Annie Jacobson. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I think everybody, particularly children at school, should read this.
Oh, and she's written loads. She's super prolific. This is really not an area that I've read a lot of stuff about. So have you read her other books as well?
I have not. It's the first I'd heard of Annie Jacobson, but I'm going to be pursuing her work.
Oh, well, she's got quite a few.
Right, that's my summer sorted.
Fantastic. Nuclear War by Annie Jacobson. Hopefully not the nuclear war, but the book is by her, at least. Wow, interesting. Carole, what's your pick of the week?
I have a televisual series for you this week. It's called The Patient. And it's a pretty tense 10-part American psychological thriller created by Joel Fields and Joe Weisberg. It's not new. It came out in 2022, but I just saw it. And I found it super gripping. So that's why it's my pick of the week. But effectively, the gist is this. You've got therapist Alan Strauss, played brilliantly by Steve Carell. And this therapist is being held prisoner by a patient who has revealed himself to be, shall we say, not a super great guy. Okay. Read into that what you will. And Sam has some unusual therapeutic demands, right? This is our patient Sam, for our therapist Alan, curb his urges. So as he's there, he's a prisoner, he's kind of kidnapped, and he's tasked with unwinding this patient's disturbed mind. But the patient refuses to address critical topics like serious mom issues and that sort of stuff. But in parallel, we have like this therapist ruminating over his own life and decisions because he's trapped and he's got a lot of board time. And I was totally sucked in. It was really, really good. Graham, I recommend it highly, particularly to you. I don't know if, Geoff, this is your thing, but...
No, sounds good.
Yeah.
Is it funny, like Jeff's nuclear war book, or is it a bit serious?
No gags.
I don't know what kind of mood you'd be in if you were kidnapped. So I think imagine that.
Steve Carell, he's the guy from The Office, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, he is from The Office, but he can also, it turns out, do some more serious roles.
Okay. So
I thought he was quite gripping. He was quite good. Yeah. So that's my pick of the week this week. It's called The Patient, starring Steve Carell, and it's available on Disney and I think Hulu.
Cool.
Super. 3 interesting picks of the week this week. And that just about wraps up the show. Geoff, I'm sure lots of our listeners would like to follow you online, find out what you're up to, and maybe learn more about Rinsed. What is the best way for folks to do that?
Very kind. Thanks, Graham. Probably on LinkedIn if you look up Geoff White. Geoff with a G and White like the colour.
And you can follow us on Twitter at SmashInSecurity. No G, Twitter won't allow us to have a G. And don't forget to ensure you never miss another episode. Follow Smash In Security in your favourite podcast app, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify and Pocket Casts.
And Carole can now power down.
But first, I'd like to thank our episode sponsors, Vanta, Kiteworks, and Collide. And of course, to our wonderful Patreon community. It's thanks to them all that this show is free. For episode show notes, sponsorship info, guest list, and the entire back catalog of more than 373 episodes, check out smashingsecurity.com.
Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Geoff, I virtually went to one of your events, your book events. I did during lockdown.
Yeah. What was that one? Wasn't that your house party?
No. We did that, but we also had your book. I think it was your second book.
Really?
And you chatted with your co-author, talked about the pod. I was there. Graham was not.
Oh, okay.
At least the bot was. The bot was there.
Still not convinced, Carole. Still not convinced.
Well, that's the way I like it.
One day you'll prove me wrong.
Come to Oxford anytime.